Have you ever pondered the quiet warnings our bodies send us as we age? Aging is a journey, one filled with wisdom, resilience, and cherished memories. But as we approach the final chapter of our lives, our bodies often whisper before they shout. Many people assume that the end of life comes suddenly, yet doctors and geriatric specialists have observed that the body often signals its decline months or even a year in advance. Recognizing these signs isn't about fear. It's about preparation, dignity, and ensuring comfort in the final stage of life. If you or a loved one are noticing these changes, it's essential to understand their meaning. Some of these signs might appear subtle at first, easy to dismiss as just getting older, but ignoring them can mean missing crucial opportunities to seek comfort, to connect deeply, and to prepare both emotionally and practically. This article highlights 6 critical signs that doctors warn may indicate an elderly person is in their final year. If you or someone you love is experiencing these, it may be time to focus on quality of life, meaningful conversations, and ensuring peace in the days ahead. 1. Unintentional weight loss, the silent red flag. Weight loss in older adults is often dismissed as a natural part of aging, but when it happens unintentionally, it may be one of the most telling signs that the body is entering its final phase. It is not just about eating less or losing muscle mass. It is a signal that the body is struggling to maintain itself, a quiet warning that something deeper is happening beneath the surface. As people age, their metabolism slows, their appetite may decrease, and their sense of taste and smell can change. These are normal aspects of aging, but when weight loss occurs without explanation, it often means that the body's ability to absorb and utilize nutrients is declining. The digestive system, which has worked tirelessly for decades, may no longer process food efficiently. Even if meals remain consistent, the body might not be extracting what it needs to sustain itself. This leads to a gradual wasting away, visible in looser clothing, thinning arms and legs, and a newfound fragility that wasn't there before. This decline in nutrition affects more than just appearance. A loss of body mass means a loss of strength. Movements become slower, more deliberate, and even simple tasks, getting out of a chair, walking up a step, lifting a glass of water, begin to feel exhausting. With less muscle, the body has less protection against falls, which can be devastating in old age. The immune system weakens, leaving the person vulnerable to infections that might have once been shrugged off with ease. The body is no longer prioritizing rebuilding and repair. Instead, it is shifting toward preservation and conservation, signs that it is preparing for the inevitable. Perhaps most telling is the emotional shift that often accompanies this physical change. Those experiencing significant weight loss might not only eat less but also care less. The joy of a favorite meal fades, the desire to cook or prepare food disappears, and eating feels more like a chore than a pleasure. Loved ones may try to intervene, offering more food, encouraging high-calorie meals, providing supplements, but when the body is preparing for its final stage, it resists. It is not just about the food, it is about the transition. If someone you love has been losing weight without trying, it is not just a number on the scale. It is the body's quiet way of signaling that change is coming. And weight loss is just the beginning. What follows next can be even more profound, and if you are paying attention, you will start to notice another shift, the relentless, undeniable presence of fatigue. 2. Extreme fatigue and weakness, a body conserving energy. There is a distinct kind of tiredness that comes with aging, but the fatigue that signals the body's final transition is different. It is not just about needing more rest or feeling sluggish after a long day. It is a deep, relentless exhaustion that sleep cannot cure. It seeps into the bones, making every movement feel heavy, every step a struggle, every conversation a draining effort. It is the body's way of pulling back, of redirecting energy from tasks that no longer seem necessary toward the simple act of sustaining itself for as long as possible. At first, it may seem subtle, a preference for sitting rather than standing, shorter walks, longer naps. Over time, fatigue becomes all-encompassing. Activities that once felt effortless now require careful thought. Dressing, cooking, Even getting out of bed in the morning can feel overwhelming. The body, once resilient, now prioritizes only the most essential functions. The muscles weaken, the limbs feel unsteady, and even holding a conversation for too long can leave someone feeling completely drained. It is not laziness, nor is it simply slowing down. It is the body shifting into a mode of preservation, preparing for what comes next. The emotional toll of this exhaustion can be profound. Someone who was once active and independent may begin to withdraw, not out of disinterest, but because engagement takes too much effort. Socializing becomes exhausting, and loved ones may notice a person fading from activities they once cherished. The frustration is often unspoken, the awareness that the mind may still be willing, but the body simply cannot keep up. Some may push through it, forcing themselves to keep moving, but the energy runs out quickly. Others may surrender to the fatigue, spending more time resting, often sleeping for long hours during the day. To those watching, it may seem as if they are wasting away, but to the person experiencing it, there is simply no other choice. For caregivers and loved ones, this change is difficult to accept. The instinct is to encourage movement, to insist on activity, to believe that pushing through will help. But in these final months, rest is not the enemy. It is the body's way of coping with the transition. When fatigue becomes this profound, the person is not just slowing down. They are entering a different phase of life where energy is no longer meant for daily tasks, but for something much greater. And if you look closely, you may notice another sign emerging alongside the exhaustion, a quiet shift in clarity as the mind begins to fade in and out, grasping at memories while slipping away from the present. 3. Cognitive decline and emotional withdrawal. There is a heartbreaking moment when someone you love begins to fade. Not physically at first, but mentally, emotionally. Conversations that once flowed effortlessly become disjointed. Familiar stories are retold with missing details, names become harder to recall, and the present begins to blur with the past. At first, it may seem like simple forgetfulness, something to laugh off or dismiss as a senior moment. But over time, the changes deepen, revealing a mind that is slowly retreating, losing its grip on the world it once knew so well. Cognitive decline in the final stage of life is not just about memory loss. It is a sign that the brain, like the rest of the body, is struggling. The signals that once fired effortlessly become sluggish. Thoughts take longer to form, and responses are delayed. Confusion sets in, sometimes subtly, sometimes suddenly. A person who could once manage their routine independently may forget where they placed essential items, struggle to follow conversations, or even become disoriented in their own home. They may lose track of time, unsure whether it is morning or night, or mistake one loved one for another. These moments of clarity and confusion may fluctuate, making it even more painful for those around them who see glimpses of the person they once knew before they slip away again. Perhaps even more distressing than the cognitive shifts is the emotional withdrawal that often accompanies them. Someone who was once lively, engaged, and affectionate may start to pull away. They speak less, sit in silence for long periods, or seem indifferent to the conversations happening around them. Not because they do not care, but because engaging with the world requires an energy they no longer have. Social interactions become overwhelming, and loud environments feel chaotic rather than comforting. Even the presence of loved ones can become exhausting rather than reassuring. This withdrawal is not just emotional. It is a sign that the body is prioritizing internal processes over external connections. As difficult as it is to witness, it is important to meet them where they are rather than forcing them to return to where they once were. Soft voices, gentle reassurances, and familiar surroundings can provide a sense of security even when words fail. And yet, as the mind dims and emotions retreat, the body still has battles left to fight. The immune system, once strong and resilient, begins to falter, leaving the door open for another silent warning. The frequent infections and slow healing that often mark the final descent. 4. Frequent infections and slow healing, a weakened immune system. There was a time when the body could fight off illness with quiet resilience, when a common cold was nothing more than a brief inconvenience and a small cut would heal in days. But in the final year of life, the body's defenses weaken, leaving even the smallest ailments to linger, deepen, and sometimes turn into something far more dangerous. What was once a simple infection now becomes a persistent battle, and wounds that would have once healed quickly remain open, fragile, and slow to recover. The immune system, after decades of defending against countless invaders, begins to fail. A person who rarely got sick before may now catch every passing illness. A cough lingers for weeks. A fever comes and goes without clear cause, and antibiotics that once worked effortlessly seem less effective. Pneumonia, urinary tract infections, skin infections, and even minor sores become recurring struggles, each one taking a greater toll on the body than the last. Sometimes infections don't even present in the ways we expect. There may be no high fever, no obvious symptoms, just an unusual tiredness, a sudden loss of appetite, or an increase in confusion. These subtle signs often go unnoticed until the infection has taken hold, pushing an already fragile body further into decline. Healing, too, slows to a crawl. Bruises take weeks to fade. Small scrapes or cuts, which once closed up within days, now remain raw, vulnerable to infection. Bed sores develop in those who spend more time lying down, and what starts as a minor irritation can turn into a deep wound that refuses to heal. The body is no longer prioritizing repair. Its energy is being redirected elsewhere. Loved ones may try everything: nutritional supplements, antioxidant antibiotics, stronger treatments, but the reality is difficult to face. The body is no longer fighting to get better. It is conserving what little strength remains, not for recovery, but for transition. Watching this unfold can be one of the hardest parts for families. There is an instinct to fix, to heal, to intervene. But when the immune system reaches this stage, comfort often becomes the better choice than aggressive treatment. Ensuring hydration, warmth, and gentle care can make a far greater difference than another round of medicine. Because when the body stops defending itself, when it no longer prioritizes healing, another shift is often near: a change in breathing, in circulation, in the very rhythm of life itself, signaling that the final stage is closer than ever. 5. Changes in breathing and circulation, the body's final adjustments. There comes a point when the body begins to let go, and one of the clearest signs is a change in the way a person breathes. The steady, rhythmic rise and fall of the chest, the breath that once felt so automatic, so effortless, becomes unpredictable. At times it slows to a near standstill, shallow and delicate, as if each breath is taken with careful consideration. Other times it becomes erratic, fast, then slow, then pausing altogether before restarting again. It is in these moments that loved ones begin to see, perhaps for the first time, just how much the body is preparing for its final transition. This shift in breathing is not just physical, it is the body's way of signaling that it no longer needs what it once did. The oxygen that once fueled movement, conversation, and daily tasks is no longer being used in the same way. The brain, the heart, the lungs, each organ is adjusting, prioritizing, deciding what is essential and what is not. The classic pattern known as Cheney-Stokes respiration, where breathing alternates between deep, labored breaths and long, silent pauses, often emerges in the final weeks or days. To those witnessing it, it can be unsettling, even frightening, but it is a natural process. It is not a sign of suffering. It is the body surrendering to its own rhythm, preparing for what comes next. Circulation changes alongside breathing. Hands, feet, and even the tips of the nose and ears may grow cold to the touch. The once warm and lively skin takes on a pale or bluish hue as the body instinctively redirects blood flow away from the extremities to preserve function in the core organs. Mottling, dark, web-like patterns on the skin may appear, a sign that circulation is slowing. For those who watch over a loved one, these signs are difficult to see, but they are not signs of distress. They are the final adjustments, the last efforts of a body that has worked tirelessly for a lifetime. The instinct may be to intervene, to encourage deeper breaths, to warm the hands, to shake them gently and call their name. But in these moments, the greatest gift is presence, not action. A hand to hold, a whispered reassurance, a room filled with calm rather than urgency. Because after the breath slows, after the body begins its final conservation of energy, another change often follows. A shift not just in the body, but in the very way a person sees the world as they begin letting go of what is here and reaching towards something beyond. 6. A shift in perspective, letting go of earthly concerns. There is a moment in the final stage of life when priorities begin to change, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. The things that once seemed urgent, bills, appointments, possessions, the worries of daily life start to lose their grip. Conversations shift from the future to the past, from plans to memories. The person who once held on to control so tightly now begins to release their hold, not out of despair, but as a quiet acknowledgement that their journey is coming to a close. This shift in perspective is one of the most profound signs that a person is nearing the end of their life. They may speak less, not out of fatigue alone, but because words no longer feel necessary. Their gaze drifts more often, as if seeing beyond the room they are in. Some begin to talk about loved ones who have passed as though they are just on the other side of a thin veil. Others stop asking about the outside world, no longer concerned with the news, the weather, or what's happening beyond their immediate surroundings. There is a noticeable detachment, not from love, but from the weight of earthly concerns. For families and caregivers, this can be one of the hardest transitions to witness. The instinct is to bring them back, to re-engage them in conversations, to remind them of upcoming events or milestones. But those who are in this stage are not forgetting life. They are simply moving beyond it. They may find peace in small, quiet moments, like the feeling of a warm hand in theirs, the sound of a familiar voice, or the presence of someone they trust. It is no longer about doing, but about being. This detachment is not resignation, nor is it sadness. It is often accompanied by an unspoken acceptance, a calm that those around them may not fully understand. And perhaps this is one of the final lessons the elderly teach us, that life is not just about the things we accumulate, the achievements we chase, or the plans we make. In the end, it is about presence, about love, about the peace that comes with letting go. And as this shift takes hold, as they release their grip on this world, another transition is near, the quiet, inevitable moment when the body follows where the spirit has already begun to go. Embracing the final journey, a quiet transition. As the body and mind gradually prepare for the inevitable, it becomes clear that the final stage of life is not just about physical decline, it is a deeply personal, quiet transition. The signs we've discussed are not simply symptoms, they are part of a natural, sacred process of letting go. These changes, while difficult to witness, are reminders that we all move through this life with purpose, and that purpose is often found in the moments of stillness, the quiet reflection, and the acceptance of what is. For those experiencing this transition, it is a time to feel the presence of love and comfort, to be surrounded by those who understand the need for peace rather than activity. And for those of us caring for loved ones, the final lesson is to be present, without urgency, without expectation. In the end, what matters most is not how much is done, but how much is felt. The warmth of a hand held, the gentleness of a voice, the quiet moments shared. When the final moment comes, it will not be defined by the struggles of the body, but by the beauty of a life fully lived. It will be the culmination of years of love, wisdom, and quiet grace. And in that moment, there will be no need for words, for the journey will have already spoken everything that needed to be said. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.